Okay, remember the story of a former illegal immigrant who was voted into the Boston City Council.
Tania Fernandez Anderson has a lot of firsts on the Boston City Council. She is the first Muslim, the first African immigrant, and the first formerly undocumented immigrant to serve.
Your votes here sometimes are racist. You move sometimes in a way that hurts my people. And then when I get up to stand up and talk, all she talks about is black stuff.
As you should.
I am here to represent every single black woman and man that suffers in the community. God has my back. What do I have to do in this council in order to get respect as a black woman?
A few moments later.
Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson has just been taken into custody.
Here's video from moments ago of the FBI outside a Dorchester home. We told you earlier this week the city councilor is under federal investigation, but neither she nor the city would tell us why. Officials cited the U.S. Attorney's Office, saying the integrity of a grand jury investigation would be impaired by disclosing information.
Many months later.
Developing tonight, Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson will plead guilty to federal charges in her corruption case. And that's not all. She also said she will resign from city council.
So the first former undocumented, first Muslim, first African immigrant to be elected to city council has pled guilty to federal corruption charges and is resigning her post. Let's talk about it. This is Tania Fernandez Anderson, a trailblazer in Boston politics. She's the first Muslim, the first African immigrant, and the first formerly undocumented immigrant to serve in Boston City's council.
Tania Fernandez Anderson will be the first Muslim and first African immigrant on the council, having come to Boston from Cape Verde as a child.
Now, she also has the title of being the first Boston councilwoman to face a federal indictment for corruption charges. Now, for those good people who have seen this story before and have heard these facts before, you can fast forward to the end to get the most recent update. But for those of you who never heard this story before, the facts are pretty insane. Now, Anderson was elected to the Boston City Council in 2021, and she was hailed as a voice for marginalized communities.
Adaptability. I mean, I was formerly undocumented, right? So the first African immigrant. So I come from a different world, and I adapted here in the U.S., this amazing country, and learned to love Roxbury.
Now, after being elected, she decided, hey, you know what? Let me hook up my family with comfy jobs here at City Council, and started employing people like her sister and brother.
The commission says Fernandez Anderson appointed her sister director of constituent services. She paid her $65,000, later raised it to $70,000 and threw in a $7,000 bonus. Total salary, $77,000. The commission says in June of last year, Fernandez Anderson appointed her son office manager and paid him $52,000 a year. The next month, she raised that to $70,000. The councilor ended the employment of her sister and son in August of 2022.
She even went as far as to ask the city council to raise the salary of staff members so she can pay even more money to her family members.
Boston city councilors control their own budget, deciding for themselves how much to spend on everything from salary and bonuses to postage. And Fernandez Anderson advocated for bigger budgets. Here she is in April of last year, just 1 month before giving her relative the bonus.
The point is that we're not paying our staff properly.
She and other councilors asked to increase their staff salary budget from $315,000 to $390,000 and suggested
to leave the decision making to the discretion of the councilor.
Now, after it was found out that she was employing her family members to these positions at City Council, the ethics board said, well, you can't do that because of a conflict of interest, and then gave her a major fine for the violations.
The State Ethics Commission leveling a $5,000 fine against Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson for putting her sister and her son on the city payroll.
Now, members of the City Council in Boston make between $103,000 to $125,000 a year. But that wasn't enough money for Anderson, who was behind on her rent and was in a financial disaster personally.
Her personal finances in shambles, including missing rent and car payments, old state ethics fines, and bank overdraft fees.
If we love people and we care about people, we respect them. And if you respect them, you pay them.
Now, here's a message from our sponsor, Hillsdale College. History, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. Did you study any of these things in school? Probably not. Or even if you did, maybe it's time for a refresher. Time and technology have changed the game, but it hasn't changed the basics, the fundamental truths about the world we live in. Hillsdale College is offering more than 40 free online courses. That's right, more than 40 free online courses. I'm digging into their Constitution 101 right now, and it's a game changer. 12 self-paced lectures that show you how the founders designed our government, how Lincoln kept the Union together during the Civil War, and how things like progressivism and big government have chipped away at our fundamental rights. For instance, like free speech on the internet. Now, as you know, I do a lot of stories on public corruption. And if you want to understand why today's corruption stories are even possible, and more importantly, how to stop them, this course is your blueprint. Now go to hillsdale.edu/Nate to enroll. There is no course and it's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/Nate to register. Link is in the description and in the pinned comments. So go learn about your rights so you can defend your freedom. Now back to the madness. So for those of you who follow the Tiffany Henyard saga, this sounds a lot like that. She's missing rent payments. She's missing car payments. She can't pay her fines from the state and her bank has overdrafted her accounts. So how are you going to get some more money if you're a city council person? Well, it seems like she put a kickback plan into place.
Ms. Fernandez Anderson was facing financial difficulty in 2023. Part of that financial difficulty stemmed from a sanction that was imposed by the State Ethics Commission of $5,000 for Ms. Fernandez Anderson hiring immediate family members in her Boston City Council office. And in around that same time in 2023, Ms. Fernandez Anderson, the grand jury alleges, hatched this scheme to funnel bonus payments, taxpayer money into her own pocket in the tune of approximately $7,000. Specifically, despite the fact that she was under investigation by the State Ethics Commission, Ms. Fernandez Anderson hired another family member on her staff at Boston City Hall to handle constituent services. That staff member was related to her, but Ms. Fernandez Anderson falsely represented to City Hall that there was no familial relationship. That is staff member A in the indictment. Ms. Fernandez Anderson then went on to tell that staff member A that she would give that person a $13,000 bonus. That bonus of $13,000 was more than twice as much as Ms. Fernandez was paying to the rest of her staff combined in bonuses. But that supersized bonus came with a hitch. Ms. Fernandez Anderson told staff member A that she would need to fork over $7,000 in cash back to Ms. Fernandez Anderson. Staff member A agreed. The indictment alleges that after staff member A received the deposit of approximately $10,000 after taxes in her bank account, staff member A was directed to make cash withdrawals. And she did that in the days following the receipt of the money in her bank account. $3,000 on May 31st, 2023, $3,000 on June 5th, 2023, and $4,000 on the afternoon of Friday, June 9th, 2023. And shortly after that last cash withdrawal, Ms. Fernandez Anderson and staff member A texted each other, and they arranged for a meetup in a bathroom in City Hall. That meeting happened in the bathroom around 4 o'clock or so on that Friday. And when they met inside that bathroom, Ms. Fernandez Anderson put $7,000 in cash in her pocket, the grand jury alleges. All of that money was funded by the taxpayers of the city of Boston.
So the indictment came down, the corruption seems to be exposed, and now it's time for Councilor Anderson to be arrested. Here's what happened.
Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson has just been taken into custody.
Here's video from moments ago of the FBI outside a Dorchester home. We told you earlier this week the city councilor is under federal investigation, but neither she nor the city would tell us why. Officials cited the U.S. Attorney's Office, saying the integrity of a grand jury investigation would be impaired by disclosing information.
So, as you will see, she's wearing the same coat and jacket that she got arrested in. She goes in front of the judge and says, hey, I am not guilty of these charges.
Developments in the story that has been unfolding all day. Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson leaving federal court in Boston this afternoon after pleading not guilty to corruption charges. She was arrested before dawn this morning. Newscenter 5 had the only camera there as the FBI took her into custody at her home. She is accused of taking thousands of dollars in city money in a kickback scheme.
Councilor Fernandez Anderson was here at the federal courthouse where she pleaded pleaded not guilty to all 6 federal charges she faces, and she was allowed to be released without having to post any bail. Now, she left the federal courthouse surrounded by cameras and reporters. She declined to make any comment, including when I asked her if she plans to resign from the Boston City Council. If convicted on these charges, she does face several years in prison.
Now, this councilwoman's finances are so bad that the judge had to appoint a government-funded attorney and said that eventually when she started getting some paychecks, she's gonna have to pay the government back. But right now, she doesn't have enough money to pay for an attorney.
The judge agreed to appoint a government-funded attorney for Fernandez Anderson, but said he thinks that in the future she may be required to pay for part of her defense. As a city councilor, she currently makes about $115,000 a year.
The city has to continue doing our business.
Boston Mayor Michelle Wu speaking publicly for the first time about the arrest of Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson. The mayor says while there is still a legal process that has to play out, she believes the city councilor should resign.
The charges are serious enough that I believe it is of the nature that is going to undermine the ability for the public to trust and have effective representation in this case. So I think I've made my views clear on that.
Now, let's just keep it real. This story isn't just about corruption. It's a cautionary tale about identity politics gone horribly wrong. She weaponized her status as a trailblazer to gain trust, only to betray the people who put her in that position. Now, the feds kind of had everything. They had witnesses, tapes, the money changing hands. They had it all. So Tania Fernandez Anderson was pretty much caught. So she decided to plead guilty to the charges.
Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson plans to plead guilty to 2 charges in her federal corruption case. Now, we've been reviewing the court paperwork this afternoon, and it shows Fernandez Anderson will plead guilty to 1 charge of wire fraud, 1 charge of stealing from a program with federal funds, and in exchange, prosecutors will recommend a sentence of 1 year and 1 day in prison. There will be fines, restitution, and probation as well. Fernandez Anderson is accused of taking a $7,000 kickback from a relative that she hired to work at City Hall.
So Tania Fernandez Anderson is likely going to jail. But now remember, she still was voted into the Boston City Council. She still has that seat. So she did the best thing, resigned.
We're here inside City Hall at her office. Nobody, of course, there. Tonight, we know she has agreed, in fact, to step down. She's apologizing, and she's asking for forgiveness. Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson shown here as federal agents arrested her outside her home months ago. Now she's pleading guilty and resigning from the city council, saying, "I would like to apologize to my constituents, supporters, and all who have been impacted. Please forgive me. I will be resigning. It is the right thing to do." In December, I asked her if she was innocent, and she couldn't say. Do you maintain your innocence, Councilor?
So I can't answer that question. What's your name?
Charmin.
Charmin from Channel 5.
Yeah.
Charmin, I've said that I can't answer that question. If you keep asking the same question, the same type of questions that lead anything.
Innocence is innocence.
And so I'm a human being.
So now Tania Fernandez Anderson then gave an interview to local news because she's trying to soften the blow of this major corruption scandal.
And we do begin tonight with an interview you'll only see right here on NBC 10 Boston. Boston City Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson is speaking out after agreeing to a guilty plea on corruption charges.
Now, we asked Councilor Fernandez Anderson about why she took the guilty plea and whether she views this as a self-brought-on error. She told us she was unable to answer those questions due to the ongoing case. Councilor Tania Fernandez Anderson sitting down exclusively with NBC 10 as she prepares to resign from her District 7 seat. The emotions of just the last 2 or 3 months. What's this been like for you?
I'm not just a mom to 2 boys, as you know. I have actually 4 sons with my stepsons. I'm soon to be a grandma. How do I do the right thing to ensure that my family is safe, is stable?
Why come here today? A lot of people would say, maybe, I'll stay away. I won't get in the public eye today. Why come to council?
You shouldn't avoid conflict. You should face it. You should grow. You should take accountability.
Concerns that the trust may have been violated a bit for your constituents there in District 7?
Of course.
Now, to me, the saddest part about this story is that Tania Fernandez Anderson had everything. She was formerly undocumented, overcame that, became a citizen and a member of city council. The American dream. She had it all. But at the end of the day, instead of helping push the cause forward, she became too greedy and wanted to enrich herself, and now has to pay the consequences. So tell me what you think about Tania Fernandez Anderson, former illegal alien, now city councilor. Do you think the 1 year is large enough? Do you think she should get more time? Tell me what you feel in the comment section. Again, I try to read all the comments like I said earlier, but don't go crazy. With that being said, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, do like great YouTube stuff. No one subscribes. It's like 80% of the people who watch these videos don't subscribe to the channel. I don't know why, but hit that button and it does actually help me make more and more of these videos. Well, with that being said, my name is Nate the Lawyer. I'm out. Peace. Now, if you're still here after I just said all that, here's a little extra treat for you. This video is of Tania Fernandez Anderson removing her items from City Hall because she's no longer a city councilor.